Irvingman, watches shows sitting on his can. Tells a story, tells a joke, monetizes cause he's broke. Look out, here comes the Irvingman.
As we know, she comes and goes as she pleases. Peter and Betty are on a date watching a mentalist do his act when suddenly he diverges from the script.
No! There is someone in the library of my house. He's stealing my book of witchcraft. It's the Green Goblin.
The Green Goblin, stealing a book on witchcraft. The Green Goblin doesn't do witchcraft. He's a scientist and he uses gadgets. That was what made him one of Spidey's most popular enemies. If all you know of him is the Tobey Maguire movie, then you don't know him. In both the comics and the movie, he turned out to be Norman Osborn, and the similarity ends there. I'm not even going to talk about the movie. I really enjoyed the Green Goblin. His comebacks were almost as good as Spider-Man's, and he always had some new way to get what he wanted, and Spider-Man had to find more creative ways to deal with him. At one point, he even learned Spider-Man's identity and went after Aunt May. Later on, he installed a big auger on the front of his flying thing and tried to skewer Spider-Man with it. The two clashed, the flyer went wild, and wound up killing the Goblin instead. Spider-Man burned the Green Goblin stuff and pretended Norman Osborn was killed by a mugger or something. I forget the details. That was where I left off. Speaking of being left off...
Peter, what do you think? He's gone.
I hope he left her cab fare to get home.
This is what I'm looking for. Once I unlock the secrets in this book, I'll have supernatural power.
Even though he called himself a goblin, he was never interested in the supernatural. He did fine with his natural stuff, as long as Spider-Man wasn't around.
I didn't know you belonged to the Crook of the Month Club.
Have a pumpkin, dearie.
Don't you have any new tricks, Goblin?
No, he still destroys people's libraries like usual.
You'll rue the day, Spider-Man, once I unlock the secret of Grandini's book.
Well, I'm going to cancel your library card.
It's not like the Goblin to run away like that, but he has other things on his mind than fighting right now.
The very thought of Spider-Man with supernatural powers makes me shudder.
But that's the Green Goblin.
So he's got a new costume. I'd know that menace anywhere.
Grandini knew who the Green Goblin is. He and Spider-Man both indicated that they've clashed before, which means they've been seen together more than once. So that statement is out of character even for Jonah. At this point in the comics, I believe the Goblin had already come after him once and Spider-Man had to save him. This is getting frustrating.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Jameson.
Good morning, Betty.
Good morning, Mr. Parker.
I guess he didn't leave her cab fare to get home. The classified department wants Jonah to personally approve an ad before they publicize it.
Eliago, Venitas, tu supernas, mondos, infernas.
I know just enough Latin to have no idea what all that means. Can anybody help?
Mr. Jameson, snap out of it.
Huh? Well, what's the idea of all this? And what's this silly thing? Here, Miss Brandt, you take care of this.
Peter and Betty will brush it off, even though Peter knows the Green Goblin is playing with spells and stuff. As quick as they leave, here he comes.
That was my ad you just read, Mr. Jameson.
Well, I don't print such drivel.
No need to print it now. You're the man I've been looking for.
He's been looking for an arrogant doofus with a mindless obsession? Spider-Man is at Grandini's place, where the library has remarkably recovered from that explosion.
Mondos supernas. It's the phrase the Goblin is using to find the medium he needs. Only one person in a million might fall into a trance by reading this.
Could Jameson be 1 in a million?
Oh, let me count the ways. It's not a bit surprising that he's a natural conduit for evil.
In a boiling cauldron at the witching hour, face these things. You must have the scepter of Osiris to stir and mix the brew. and then demons of the underworld will come to do your bidding.
The scepter of Osiris? Where will I find it?
In the mummy case of Grandini, the mystic.
The scepter, or sometimes spear of Osiris, is a recurring theme in a lot of fantasy, and I'm not sure why. Even more puzzling, this is an ancient Egyptian artifact. Why does Grandini have it? Why isn't it in a museum somewhere?
Is that all, Spirit?
That's more than enough, you ghoulish goblin.
Spider-Man!
They spar for a while, but then the goblin decides to cheat.
Destroy the intruder, Spirit! That proves the spirits are on my side.
He still hasn't given any indication as to what he wants them to do once he has control of them. Even more puzzling, Jonah is still mesmerized and Spider-Man is unconscious at his feet. If he kills him now, there are no witnesses. Instead, he just leaves. This is also out of character because he's had a lethal mat-on for Spider-Man pretty much since his first appearance. He has the opportunity, and he walks away from it. So to speak.
Oh, my head. Spider-Man! I must have put up quite a struggle. Hello, police? Yes, this is J.J. Jameson. I've just captured Spider-Man!
About the time Spidey is waking up, a policeman appears, but there seems to be a problem.
Do your duty, officer. I want that web-slinging nuisance locked up.
On what charge, Mr. Jameson?
On what charge? That's Spider-Man!
I know that's Spider-Man, but what's he done?
Done! Why, he's the worst menace this city has ever known. He's...
Sorry I can't stay to hear the verdict, but I have to see Mummy about a scepter.
Good old JJ couldn't think of a word like trespassing. That would have done it because while there's a lot he doesn't remember, he does know he didn't invite Spider-Man in. But when you have 11 bogus charges swirling around in your head, it's hard to pull out a legitimate one.
Well, don't just stand there. Go after him.
After you, Mr. Jameson.
I want to give that policeman a medal. That's twice he's called out Jonah's absurdities. I was secretly hoping JJ would try it and Spider-Man would have to catch him. Oh well.
The scepter of Osiris. Soon the demons of the spirit world will be mine to command.
Not if I can help it.
More sparring and Spider-Man seems to have the upper hand.
You can't get away.
Oh, yes, I will. And now for the witching hour.
Or not.
Oops, you broke it.
And who's gonna pay to fix that priceless historical artifact, Spider-Man? He doesn't care right now. If he doesn't catch up with the Goblin and stop his plan, nothing much else will matter. But to stop him, Spider-Man has to learn how the whole thing works. Fortunately, he has a ready source for that information.
Oh, it's you, Parker. What are you doing up so late?
Well, I thought you'd want to know that you've been scooped by a rival newspaper.
Scooped? Nobody scoops the bugle. Let me see that. Eliago, Vanitas, to Supernas.
Under the influence of the incantation, Jonah tells Peter everything he needs to know about the witching hour spell, except for one small detail.
Where will it be?
Only the Green Goblin knows.
There's still one last chance. If the Goblin needs Jameson, I'll be able to follow him.
And if he doesn't need him, we're all hosed. Good thing he does need him.
The witching hour. I should have guessed.
Yes, you should have. Don't you know your cliches about magic?
The time has come.
The party's over, Goblin.
My cauldron!
Right back at you, Goblin.
The Green Goblin didn't realize until it was too late that he had conjured up Casper the Friendly Ghost and the Ghostly Trio.
These will make short work of you! You fool! You destroy us all!
Suddenly I'm reminded of the grunts in Halo when you stick a plasma grenade to one of them.
Destroy him! Oh, demons, use your powers! Bungler, you are not fit to join our evil band.
Those bombs plus the material from his gloves probably tainted the potion anyway, so it's just as well.
No, you can't leave me. I command you to come back. Please!
You do realize that when we call that the magic word, it's just a figure of speech, right? Spider-Man will wrap the goblin up in some webbing and call it a night.
And when I came to, where do you think I was? I was in the same cell with the Green Goblin.
He was still under the influence of that incantation, so Gobby decided to have some fun with him. The next time a guard came along, he found Jonah hanging from the light fixture like a gibbon. He went to get his supervisor, and when they came back, Jonah mooned both of them. They discussed the situation and decided life was too short to deal with this, so they let him go. Because he's had a... good grief. Yes, I heard you the first time. You like to repeat yourself.